I used to hate my 9 to 5 and I really couldn't wait to leave. But recently I've changed my perspective and I think this can help you too. Let's start with the obvious, shall we? Money. Coming from corporate, I had absolutely no idea how the freelancing world worked. I had no idea where you're supposed to find clients, if you should be using job boards or if you should be using Fiverr or Upwork or any of those platforms, how to calculate my rate, how I should be charging for things, how I should set up a project proposal, how I should do pretty much anything. And I think if I quit my 9 to 5 and went all into this freelancing world, I would have made so many mistakes and put myself under so much pressure to make this succeed. And I know for some people, like just quitting and putting all your focus on this new thing and having this pressure of having to pay your rent and having to make this work, it can be an amazing motivator, and kudos to those people. But for me, I don't think it can work, because I would be so stressed about like my next paycheck, my next income, that I would probably be applying for every job left, right, and center just so I could make ends meet. And I think, again, that works for some people, but for me, I have the discipline to, work on this 9 to 5, and then after that, work on my freelancing career. I have the discipline to sit down and do it, even if I don't feel like it. So I am using my 9 to 5 to actually help fuel this dream of mine in a very intentional way. And the first way is to actually use my income from my 9 to 5 to make sure that my living expenses are paid. And that means I can be picky with clients. So that means if I have a client who's not being respectful, who is bad at communicating, who cannot give me a clear goal, who cannot work with me and our vibe is just not working, I can fire them, or I can just not take the job. I can decide whether or not this client is worth my time, energy, and mental health. And if I quit my 9 to 5 and didn't have a solid, steady, stable income coming in, I wouldn't have felt that I could do that, or that I had the right to do that, because I need to pay rent at the end of the month or pay for groceries. So this 9 to 5 gives me the stability and actually maybe the backbone to be able to say, this isn't working with a client, and then to actually just let them go. The other thing my 9 to 5 is allowing me to do is to actually undercharge for some projects, because sometimes the opportunity is amazing and I want to learn. So instead of being so dependent on the income from my freelancing job, I actually can afford to say, it's fine, I can be underpaid for this just so that I can get a testimonial, so I can get the experience, so I can build the social credit, or build the career capital, if you want to call it that. Even though it's like freelancing career capital, it doesn't matter. I get to have the chance to do amazing projects with amazing people that I respect or admire, because I don't have to charge this proper rate of mine to cover my expenses. Obviously in the future I will have to do that, but this gives me the chance to maybe just get my foot in the door with some people and then increase my rates at a later stage. And the third way this 9 to 5 income gives me stability is to also be able to reinvest back into my business. So I can reinvest and ask somebody to improve my branding. I can reinvest and ask somebody to, help me with my social media, or edit some videos, or give me ideas, or pay for a mentor, or pay for a course. Because I don't need this money right now, I can build a solid freelancing career foundation, and I can actually, build onto this and make sure that this is a solid structure. So when I step out of my corporate career, I already have the testimonials, I have the, street cred, if you want to call it that. I have something, and maybe some people who can give me referrals, and then I can charge my worth. And then I can already say, well, here's a solid portfolio. This is why I can charge $50, $60, or $70 an hour. Where now I feel that if I had to do that, some people might kind of look at stuff and say, well, you're pretty much a newbie, so no, I'm not going to give you that amount of money. But for me to keep my lifestyle, to be able to travel, to be able to pay for where I live, I would have to charge that much to survive. So this really gives me the opportunity to build my freelancing career in a very slow, purposeful way. And it really also gives me the chance to experiment. The other thing is that it also provides a buffer for me. So by taking the money I'm getting now for my freelancing work and just putting it into my savings account or into my business pocket or whatever, I actually am building a buffer. So when I do quit my job, I do have a buffer for if I have a sick day, I have a buffer to take holiday, I have a buffer to actually maybe help me through a dry period of the freelancing work. So I can reinvest back into the business because I am not dependent on this money. Besides giving me a stable income every month so I can cover my expenses, my 9 to 5 also allows me to have a safe experimentation zone. I am by nature a little bit of a person who doesn't like to take risks, and I also like to give a very good service or product. I'm a bit scared to tell people that I'm even doing freelancing work because I feel that I am not giving them the quality of work sometimes that I would like to give. I won't say I'm a perfectionist because I know that's very unrealistic in life, but let's say I always try to strive in the direction of perfectionism, and I know that's not healthy. So what my 9 to 5 allows me to do is whatever I'm learning from freelancing, especially regarding team and project management, I can kind of try these new techniques with the teams and projects I'm managing at my 9 to 5 and see how it is received and get feedback really quickly. And this feedback that I'm getting from my 9 to 5 is gold, because I really want to be able to become a valuable freelancer. I don't want to just, charge the minimum rate. I would like to be a freelancer who gives valuable services to my client and then also charges a rate that is fair to the value that I provide. And I also want to charge a rate that is going to allow me to have a freelancing career that offers me freedom, because that's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this just so that I can have a lot of money. I also want the lifestyle that comes with freelancing, and I don't want a stressful lifestyle. And this idea of getting like a feedback loop comes from the book So Good They Can't Ignore You by Newport. And the idea in this book is that you need to try and build your career capital so you can get freedom. And one of the ways to build your career capital is to obviously increase your skills and get constant feedback on those skills you are improving, because the feedback really pushes you to keep improving, and then your service becomes more and more valuable. And how I'm also doing this, or trying to get this feedback and improve my skill set, is to use my 9 to 5 as the stable backbone, and to then apply for a low-paying internship, or to do a small project that looks interesting so I can see where my gaps are, or try and apply for a project that is small but where I definitely know that I would have to do research and put in a little bit of effort. So having this as a solid backbone, I'm not so scared of messing up the project, because if I really don't do well in that project where I have a skills gap, I can just offer a very low rate. So if I do mess up, the person doesn't feel like they lost a lot of money, or I can offer a full refund so that I don't, lose reputation, but I also get the opportunity to grow. And I always ask for feedback from my clients. And I think, I would be scared to ask that, because sometimes I'm like, oh, what if it is negative? But because I know I can fall back on my 9 to 5, it's okay if it's negative. Obviously I don't want to do that all the time, but or actually I don't really want negative reviews or anything, but it does give me the breathing room that if something bad happens, I can handle it, because I have a place where I can try things in a trusted way. And I now also have small, low risk ways in my freelancing journey where I can try new things and improve my skill set. This also kind of applies to creating packages or services. I can now create small packages and services, or pitch for certain projects or set up projects where it is maybe very different from what somebody else would offer, and I can see if there is a need in the market, or I can keep creating this package and service and keep pitching it to people to see where they are not biting, and there's no pressure, because I don't feel this pressure that I need to pay my rent. So I can do this in a relaxed way and really be strategic about it, and really experiment and ask a lot of people for their feedback without coming off as too needy or salesy, or that there's this massive pressure for them to accept this offer. I kind of get to see in a very low risk way what is working and what isn't. The third way my 9 to 5 is helping me is to help me protect my long-term vision. I did not start this freelancing journey to keep on working every single weekend and to work 60-hour days and to never take a sick break and never to see my friends and to just go full monk mode and work nonstop. I am starting this journey so I can have a life that I actually enjoy living. And I'm not saying I'm not enjoying my life while I have a 9 to 5, it just feels like something is missing. So while I have this 9 to 5 in the background, I can actually start building the life I want. I can experiment with new hobbies. I can actually at the moment say, okay, I'm just going to take a break from freelancing at the moment, and I'm going to go on a holiday, or I'm going to take a weekend, and I'm going to take the sick day if I'm sick, regardless of whatever. And if I'm tired, I'm tired. If I'm really exhausted and I just can't focus for today, that's fine. Just do my 9 to 5 and chill, And if I had my freelancing career only, I think I would have been too stressed to do that, especially in the beginning, because you are really depending on building like some career capital so people can refer you. So you are really dependent on becoming really good in a very short period of time so you can kind of make sure you make ends meet. And with this like freelancing on the side at the moment, it really helps me just to have stability and to be able to set boundaries in place and to make sure that I am intentional about how I'm living my life. Of course, there are many weeks at the moment where I'm working way too much. I am still, building this, and I am doing things alongside my 9 to 5. So it does mean that some weeks I'm working 20 hours plus outside of my normal 40 hours at work. But I know that it is a short-term sacrifice, and I also know at any moment I can stop. I can say no. If I feel that it is too much, I can move a task to another day. Obviously, if it's for a client and there's a deadline, I still try to make sure that I meet that deadline. Not even try to make sure I do meet that deadline, unless there's hell and high water. But I need to make sure that I at least just deliver things to the clients. My business, it can pause. I don't have to post anything to Instagram tomorrow. I don't have to. It's like my business. I get to choose. And that's also what my 9 to 5 is giving me. It's allowing me to say, no, this is not that important. No, I don't want to do this. This is not more important than whatever, my health, my happiness, my friends, my family, whatever the case may be. And I think if you are depending on this freelancing business for everything, it becomes more and more difficult to do that until you grow or until you are really charging what you need to charge in order to, have the lifestyle that you want. But before that, it can be very tough, and people shouldn't romanticize the freelancing life either. There are months where you just don't get clients. There are months where nobody is accepting your pitches or replying, and people pay invoices late. So cash flow is very difficult. And with my 9 to 5, I don't have to stress about any of that. I can put boundaries in place. I can go on the holiday, and I can actually be very intentional about the life I'm trying to live. So for me, it really isn't all or nothing. My 9 to 5 is allowing me to build my massive freelancing dream career without the unnecessary financial pressures, without, feeling like I'm throwing it all away and giving up my career and that all will be doomed if I, mess up somewhere, and without the mental health costs and without the potential burnout. So I'm actually so grateful to my 9 to 5 to give me the space where I can build this dream of mine in a very slow, sustainable way. But now I'm curious, are you taking the same approach, or did you just quit everything and go all in? And if you are doing it, what are some of the skills you got from your 9 to 5 that you are putting into your freelancing roles? I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments.